We all trust the software that runs our world, but should we? Every single app, every update, it has this hidden history, a really complex supply chain of components that can carry all sorts of unseen risks. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain on one of the most critical threats in cybersecurity, securing that chain. So let me just ask you this. What's really hiding inside the software that runs your entire business? See, modern applications aren't written from scratch anymore. Not at all. They're assembled, kind of like Legos, from this huge ecosystem of third-party libraries and open-source components. And every single one is another link in a long, complicated chain. And that chain, it can be attacked. A software supply chain attack is a really devious kind of threat. Instead of trying to knock down your front door, attackers just poison the well. They inject malicious code into a piece of software that you already trust. We all saw the devastating impact of this with the SolarWinds incident. A compromised update led to massive breaches at huge organizations and government agencies. That single attack, it fundamentally changed how we think about software trust. So here's what we're going to do. First, we'll unpack this hidden threat. Then, we'll dive into the definitive playbook for defending against it from the experts at NIST. We'll break down their layered strategy, look at the essential tools you'll need, and finally, tie it all back to what this means for building a truly resilient organization. Okay, so before we can build a defense, we have to understand the attack surface. Why are modern organizations so vulnerable to these kinds of threats? Well, the weakness really lies in two core ideas about how we use and trust software today. First up, privileged access. A lot of the essential software we use needs high-level permissions just to do its job. But if that trusted software gets compromised, it becomes a super powerful gateway for an attacker, basically handing them the keys to your kingdom. And second, frequent communication. We rely on this constant stream of updates to keep our software safe and working right. But that trusted channel is a real double-edged sword. Hackers can hijack it to push out malware disguised as a legit patch, taking advantage of the very trust we put in our vendors. So how in the world do we fight back? Well, fortunately, we don't have to start from scratch. We have a powerful blueprint from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, which pretty much sets the standard for cybersecurity. When it comes to cybersecurity standards here in the US, NIST is the gold standard. Seriously, their guidance isn't just for federal agencies. It forms the foundation of best practices for industries all over the world. They provide the frameworks that help organizations like yours build resilient and secure systems. And their guidance on this specific topic, called Special Publication 800-161, gets right to the point. It's all about helping organizations identify, assess, and then mitigate these risks at every single level. This makes it clear, this is not just an IT problem. It's an entire organizational one. The whole framework is built around this central concept, C-SCRM, which stands for Cybersecurity Supply Chain Risk Management. And it's so important to get that this isn't about some single tool or a quick fix. Nope, it's a whole process that weaves supply chain security into the very fabric of your risk management strategy. So where does an organization even start with this? This is where the NIST framework gets incredibly practical. It breaks down the whole implementation into 3 distinct tiers. This creates a really clear roadmap that can scale with your organization's maturity and risk appetite. It's designed to be an accessible journey, not some steep cliff you have to climb all at once. It all starts with what they call foundational practices. And you should think of this tier as being all about one word: visibility. Because you can't protect what you can't see, right? So you've got to know what software is critical to your operations and who's supplying it. From there, you start weaving this C-SCRM thinking into every department, from procurement to legal, and you start assessing and monitoring those supplier relationships. Next, we build on that foundation with sustaining practices. Now, if the first tier was about visibility, this one is all about accountability. It's about really deepening that engagement with your suppliers. This means getting formal attestations, like verifiable proof from your critical suppliers about their security practices. It also means working with them on resilience and, this is huge, embedding your security requirements into your contracts so they legally extend to their suppliers too. You're basically securing the chain beyond just your direct vendors. And finally, we get to the enhancing practices. This tier is all about deep verification. This is for the mature organizations that are looking for the absolute highest level of assurance. Think of it like reverse engineering a recipe. You're analyzing the final software to create your own ingredient list when a supplier won't give you one. It also means enforcing dynamic security, like using access credentials that expire in minutes, not months, and demanding hard, verifiable proof from third-party audits. Okay, so we've seen the strategy, but what about the tools? What's in the toolbox? Well, NIST's framework highlights several critical capabilities that are pretty much essential for modern software security. At the very top of that list is the Software Bill of Materials, or SBOM. This has become an absolute cornerstone of supply chain transparency. An SBOM is just a formal, machine-readable inventory of everything that goes into a piece of software. Honestly, the concept is incredibly simple. Just think of an SBOM as a food ingredient label for your software. You wouldn't eat something without knowing what's in it, right? Well, the same idea should apply to the code that runs your business. An SBOM gives you that transparency, listing out every library and component so you know exactly what are consumed.
And what's really cool is that an SBOM isn't just some static list you create at the very end. As you can see here, it's actually a living document. It's assembled and updated across the entire software lifecycle. From the moment a component is chosen, through building, testing, and release, the SBOM tracks its whole journey, creating a detailed and verifiable record of its origin.
C-SCRM also demands that we get much more rigorous with our vendor risk assessments. It's just not enough to take a supplier's word for it anymore. We need to go way beyond simple self-attestations and demand third-party audits for our critical vendors. This includes deep dive questionnaires, assessing geopolitical risks like foreign ownership, control, or influence, what's known as FOCI, and implementing technical checks, like automatically verifying the digital signatures on every single software update. It's also really important to see that C-SCRM doesn't exist in a vacuum. This framework is a foundational document that actually underpins other critical guidance, like the Secure Software Development Framework, or SSDF. They all work together. It's an interconnected ecosystem of standards, all aiming to build more secure and trustworthy systems from the ground up. So let's bring it all home. Why does adopting this framework truly matter? I mean, it goes far beyond just meeting some requirement. Ultimately, CCSRM is not about ticking off compliance checkboxes. It's a strategic imperative. It's about building a fundamentally more secure and resilient organization, one that can actually withstand the sophisticated threats of our interconnected world. It's about transforming what could be a point of catastrophic failure into a well-managed, verifiable strength. And that leaves us with one final, critical question to consider for your own organization. After everything we've looked at, is your software supply chain a source of strength, or is it your greatest unseen vulnerability? The answer to that question could define your security posture for years to come.